Hi, you are in the ladies' room with Dr. Donica, the only public ladies' room you can enter anytime without ever waiting online. I'm your host, Dr. Donica Moore. We'll be having real conversations with real women about really intimate issues. They may be embarrassing, sad, or funny, but they will always be interesting and informative. You know, like the best conversations you've had in ladies' rooms with your best friends, or total strangers and a physician. Please join us. Hello, and welcome to another exciting episode of In the Ladies' Room with Dr. Donica. Now, my guest today, I actually met online on Twitter. We were actually on the same side in an argument started by the post of a ridiculous article from a man. You knew it was a man when I said it was ridiculous, whose name was only given as Gary. And Gary was complaining that women physicians earn less than men because they work less. Now, of course, one of our previous In the Ladies' Room guests, Dr. Nicole Sapphire, a breast radiologist, called him out, and she said, quote, "I challenge you to compare your man's schedule to my woman's schedule any day to see who works more." And then Dr. Hampton response was great. She said, "I see breast cancer patients and perform their surgeries. I'm president-elect of the medical staff. I'm opening a lingerie boutique that will help serve my patients. I'm co-founder of a nonprofit, Breast Care DC, wife, mother, daughter, and still smiling. How about you, Gary?" And of course, my response to that was, "When are you available to be our guest in the ladies' room?" All I had to hear was co-founder of a lingerie boutique. And I said, yes, I have to talk to this woman. So of course I Googled her and found out that Dr. Regina Hampton is the medical director and founder of the breast center at Doctors Community Hospital, which is the first comprehensive breast center in Prince George's County, Maryland. She is a board-certified general surgeon who has focused her practice on breast health and breast cancer. But most recently, she also founded Cherry Blossom Intimates, the first retail store in the DC, Maryland, or Virginia area to carry custom-made mastectomy breast prostheses around the clock. Cherry Blossom Intimates also carries traditional bras, panties, shapewear, and hosiery, along with a full line of post-mastectomy products, mastectomy bras, prostheses, breast forms, pre- and post-surgical supplies. And most importantly, fitting services are discreet and complimentary. Now, she's also the medical director and co-founder of Breast Care for Washington. In her spare time, this is a nonprofit dedicated to providing access to mammograms regardless of a woman's ability to pay. The facility is the only 3D mammography facility east of the Anacostia in Ward 8, which has the highest mortality rate for breast cancer in the District of Columbia. She attended the Medical College of Pennsylvania and completed her general surgical residency at Howard University Hospital. And she has a very busy woman's schedule. So we are really, really glad to see you. Welcome to the ladies' room.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited. This is fun.
Is this the most unusual thing you've ever done in a ladies' room, or what else have you?
Well, woman never tells.
On this show they do, or didn't I fully brief you? We talk about everything here. We have had women come and talk about masturbation. We have had women come and talk about domestic violence, and we have talked about everything in between.
I love it.
And some of the stories we've heard from women about their experiences in the ladies' room have been quite dramatic. So as I always used to say to my patients, there is nothing that you can tell me that I haven't heard before.
No, this is great. Thank you so much for having me. This is fun.
My pleasure. So seriously, what's the most unique, different, or unusual thing that ever happened to you in a ladies' room? Or that you witnessed happening to somebody else?
God, I don't know if I've ever thought of that. To me, nothing ever seems out of the ordinary. I just realize people's lives are different and they just do whatever works for them. I think I'm just at that point in my life where, if that's what you're doing, okay.
Okay. So how did you decide to become a breast surgeon?
So in medical school, I thought I wanted to be a family practice doctor or a pediatrician. And I did those rotations early, and it turned out I didn't like them so much. I was bored. And I did, OBGYN, didn't quite like that either.
No offense taken. It's not for everybody.
No. And so then I did my surgery rotation. I was like, ooh,
Mm.
this is fun. And I got to do my first appendectomy as a third-year medical student. And that
Mhm.
was it. It was just, and then I thought, well, I'm not supposed to like this. I'm a female in surgery. And then got to be mentored by some wonderful women surgeons and decided to go for it.
And that was how
And
many
then
years ago?
that was, well, I've been in practice now for 13 years.
Wow.
Um, and then residency, did 5 years of residency, 2 years of research. And then I kind of got into breast surgery by accident. In that when I started here in my county where I am, I was one of the few female surgeons. So of course people started just sending me the breast cases.
Right.
And I just found I loved it. And I didn't like how at that time the men in my community were treating women with breast cancer. And just thought, you know what, we can do this better. Let's offer something better. Let's offer some quality care. And had some great mentors at other institutions in the area who really were encouraging me. And here I am 13 years later.
Awesome. So tell us the story of how a breast surgeon decides to start a lingerie boutique. Connect the dots for me here. I know it had something to do with an Avon run.
Yeah, so, I had this idea because I see a lot of just women without breast cancer who are all in the wrong bra. And then I saw that Oprah show years ago where they said 85% of us are in the wrong bra.
Yeah.
And
I heard about that show too. And I said,
yeah,
I've been wearing the same size since I was in high school, and I'm 40 pounds heavier and 2 children later.
exactly. And then for my breast cancer patients, they were having to drive 20 plus miles just to get a mastectomy bra or post-surgical items. And so, I started on this journey, went around to probably every lingerie store in my area and kind of looked at what I liked, didn't like. Whenever I traveled, I went to lingerie stores wherever I traveled and thought, okay, I want to do this, but not quite sure how I'm going to do this with all the other stuff going on. And
You hear
so
that, Gary?
And so I was doing the Susan G. Komen walk one year with my nonprofit, and a young lady was there to walk, and I had just diagnosed a friend of hers. And so we ended up getting separated from everyone. And this is Jasmine Jones. She is the former Miss District of Columbia, USA. And we just had a lovely conversation, just talked about everything for 3 however many miles it was. I just started to share with her that I had this idea to do this store, and she had some great ideas. Well, it turns out she has retail experience. She's been a manager at some pretty large department stores. And then she had a grandmother who had breast cancer, who always had trouble finding mastectomy bras, prosthesis. And so she and I connected afterward. And then again, as busy women do, we both got busy, kind of went our separate ways. And then all of a sudden I just said, it's time to do this. So I called her up and I said, hey, are you ready? And she said, I had been thinking about you and was going to call you as well. Let's go ahead and do this. So we started on this probably 1.5 year long journey to get the store open. And we just opened about 2 weeks ago.
Yay. It's so exciting. Next time I'm in the
Yeah.
area, I want to come check it out.
Absolutely.
I have not had any major breast surgery. I've had a open biopsy, which was negative. But a few years ago, I had been thinking about that bra sizing issue, and I went to a real lingerie store where I actually got measured. And turns out I was a full size larger than I thought I was.
Yes.
So now I'm much more comfortable.
Absolutely. Well, and people always say to me, they're like, oh, I hate my bra. I hate underwires. I'm never going to wear wires. Well, most of us are in the wrong size underwire. And, just as you said earlier, you've been wearing the same bra since you were in your teenage years. Well, we all are either going to gain weight or lose weight. And so our bra size will change. We're not in the same jeans, at least I'm not. Same pair of jeans that I was in high school. I wish I could, but those days are gone for me.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Yes.
So I actually did some homework in preparation for this discussion. And I wanted to know, how big is the US lingerie market anyway? And I found some statistics, and I found that last year, the United States lingerie market was $38.2 billion. Now, interesting, the first thing that struck me about that number, $38.2 billion, is that the NIH budget is $37 billion. So in the United States, we spend more money on ladies' lingerie. That doesn't even include men's underwear. The NIH budget includes how much money we spend on men's research and women's research. And of course, it's still a lot more on men. But can you believe we spend more money on lingerie than on research in the United States?
I do believe it, unfortunately. Yeah. I mean, I think because, lingerie has been put out there and that we all have to look beautiful and we have to be angels and, we have to be these wonderful creatures. What I've found is so interesting is that the way American women think of lingerie and the way other women in other countries, specifically France, women in France, they do lingerie for themselves. They want to put on a great piece of lingerie under their great, powerful business suit so that they can feel good. Versus we as American women, we feel like we have to wear lingerie for somebody else. We've got to look good for our husband, our boyfriend, our significant other. And I really want to get women to empower ourselves. Like, why can't we walk into a business meeting with that power suit on with a lacy red bra on and just feel great? I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, I want something that's just comfortable.
Well, red and lacy can be comfortable if we get you in the right red and lacy. I mean, lingerie should be comfortable and it should just make us feel good. And so that's really one of my things. I really want to empower women to, let's not do it for them. Let's just do it for us because we want to feel good.
So what are some of the lingerie issues that women have after mastectomy?
Many of them don't know that they can get bras that are covered by insurance. And I think the mastectomy industry is finally starting to create beautiful bras for women who've had mastectomies, because traditionally they've been sort of the, dare I say, frumpy, kind of boring bras. But now they're coming out with colors, they're coming out with lace, because especially in my community, I have a lot of younger breast cancer patients, and they want to be cute and sexy, even though they may have one or both breasts missing.
And so these are women who have not had reconstruction.
Yes. Right. And so we're just trying to create something beautiful and allow these women to feel beautiful, because why shouldn't they feel beautiful? And, my thing is, why shouldn't these women be able to shop in the same store that I can shop in? Why is there this separation? Why can't we all shop in one store? And so I think it's great that a woman can come and bring her mother or her aunt to get her mastectomy bra, and she can come in and get something cute too. And everybody's happy.
And what's your size range? Because that's my number one pet peeve with stores like Victoria's Secret is, yes, I can shop there for my young daughter, but once you get to my size, it's very difficult.
So we have from an A cup through an N, and we will eventually go up to a Q. We just realized there's now a Q cup. Yes,
I didn't even know that.
As in queen, yes. And we fit from a 28 band through a 52 band. So, my motto is I want every woman to be able to come in and walk out with something, no matter her size, no matter if she has one breast, no breasts, two breasts. We really just want everybody to be fit and have them feel beautiful when they walk out. It was interesting. Last week, a woman came in. She's a stage 4 breast cancer. And her daughter brought her in because she had been wearing a bra with a sock in the side of her mastectomy. And no one had ever told her that she could get bras paid for by insurance and get a prosthesis. And after I fit her, and what was really exciting was I was able to get her a prosthesis that was brown colored to match her skin tone. And even though it's not something that is going to be seen, we put it in the pocket bra. That little detail just made that woman so happy. And her daughter sent me a message afterward and just said, you just don't know what that did for her mom as she's, kind of going through her stage 4 battle. Just that little thing just made her feel so good. And so, that's why we're there, is to make that difference.
That's a huge thing. When it comes to hearing aids, they can now be matched to your skin tone. Certainly
Right.
dentists have been on this for a really long time. And I even learned on the Trevor Noah show, of all places, this week, about how ballet shoes are now being custom designed to match the
Yes.
skin tone of the ballet dancers.
Yes, I just saw that. I think it's fabulous. I think it's, we're all so many different shades, and why can't we get something that matches everyone's shade? I even think, as a white woman is not truly white. I mean, there's shades of white. There's maybe you're on the browner spectrum, more on the pink, more olive. So, we've got to get with it, America. We really do.
That's true. And now that so many shades of bras are available, message to white women, since we're not really white, stop wearing white bras with white blouses because it's completely see-through. Wear a beige bra or a bra that more closely matches your skin. That's my public service announcement for today. Now, we get lots of questions sent in. I have a separate email, askdrdonica@gmail.com, for all our listeners. And we also do a weekly Facebook Live show where people send in their questions for me to address on the Facebook Live shows. But since I knew you were coming, I saved some of the breast cancer questions for you. And I picked out some that are specifically related to bras. Now, here's my number one pet peeve question. I'm going to let you answer it since you're here. And it is, do underwire bras cause breast cancer? Go.
I knew that was going to be the
You
first
knew that was
question.
coming. And did you also know that the next one's about antiperspirant?
So let's knock out the bra issue. No, bras, underwire bras are not related to breast cancer. And what I tell people is, as much as you can say about America is really great in that, if it were really that dangerous, we wouldn't be able to buy it. We'd all be sagging because we wouldn't be able to buy bras with underwires. So underwires are safe. The problem, as I said before, is most of us are just in the wrong sized underwire. So we got to get fitted and get the girls nice and supported.
Okay. The next one, as I promised you, is about the antiperspirant. I've seen an email going around on the internet for a couple of years saying that it's bad to use antiperspirant because it might cause breast cancer. I never thought anything of it until I went to get my mammogram and they said, don't use antiperspirant before your mammogram. What gives?
So antiperspirants have metals in them, and so does talcum powder, and if you wear it on the day of your mammogram, those small fine metals and particles can show up on the mammogram and confuse us so that we may think that there might be something there that needs to be biopsied. So we tell you not to wear any powders, any deodorants on the day of your mammogram. And even a lot of mammography facilities now have wipes so that you can wipe everything off. But once your mammogram is done, you can go back to wearing your antiperspirants. But if you're going to work or on a hot day, I'm sure your neighbors and friends would appreciate that.
Public service announcement number 2.
Yes. So no, antiperspirants and deodorants are not dangerous.
So public service announcement number 3, I actually got into an argument with my sister about this a couple of weeks ago, and I'm significantly older than my sister, and she is not a doctor, but she was trying to tell me what the mammography guidelines are. So without telling you what side of the argument I'm on, what do you recommend for a woman who, let's just start with somebody who has no family history of breast cancer, just average screening, mammography guidelines, age, and frequency?
So average woman, no family history, starting at age 40 is still what I recommend. And I still recommend yearly mammograms. I think we've just come so far and we've shown that yearly mammograms do make a difference, that the every 2 years, the waiting until 50 is just not acceptable. And especially important in my community because I treat a lot of Latina and African-American women who tend to get breast cancer at younger ages, usually in their 30s and 40s. So for that population of women, they can't afford to wait until 50. And there has been some talk and some papers out saying that maybe there might need to be separate guidelines for that population of women to start earlier. So age 40 every year. When do you stop? When you either no longer have breasts for us to image, or you're no longer walking the earth, or you just can't get to the mammography facility.
And that's basically exactly what I said. So
Yay!
Yay! We didn't talk about this.
We didn't plan that.
But always happy to have somebody help me gang up on my sister. Now, interestingly, you mentioned Latina women. Breast cancer is, of course, the number 2 cancer killer of women, but in Latina women, it's actually the number 1 cause of cancer death in the United States. So really important message. Now, how do the mammogram guidelines differ if you have a family history of breast cancer?
So if there's a family history of breast cancer, it's really important to know who had breast cancer and at what age.
Say it's your mom.
So if it was your mother and she had breast cancer at, say, age 42, then usually we'll recommend that the women in that family start about 10 years earlier, starting with mammograms and at least getting into what we call a high-risk program where we can monitor those women very closely. They may even be eligible for breast MRI as a part of their screening protocol in addition to 3D mammography. So knowing the age, talking amongst our families, I know a lot of families keep stuff hush-hush. I'm always amazed. I've had patients who've come in and said, yeah, well, my grandmother always had one breast. And I'm like, well, she had breast cancer. No one ever said breast cancer. No, she had breast cancer. I'm here to tell you that she did.
Well, when I was a girl,
talk about the rest of the family.
Yeah, when I was a girl, women in that generation did not say the word cancer. They would say the C word. The C word has a very different connotation now. But when I was a girl, the C word was a 5-letter word, not a 4-letter word. Or actually a 6-letter word. Sorry. It was a 6-letter word. That was a good soundbite.
Yeah.
Until I realized I didn't count right. They also said they had lady troubles or lady surgery. And that could mean a mastectomy or it could also mean a hysterectomy. So we didn't know what part of the body we were talking about. Now, there's a lot of controversy amongst women themselves, and I'd like you to clear this up, about risk and breast size. So how does being very well endowed versus not very well endowed affect your risk, if at all?
So there's been some talk about breast density more than breast size. So, it doesn't matter what size you are, if you're A cup, if you're that Q cup, we're all at risk. I'd say the 2 largest risk factors are being a woman, ding, ding, and having breasts, ding, ding. Those are the 2 biggest risk factors. And then you can add on family history and some of the other things. But it can be a little harder to detect in a woman who has a larger breast size or in someone who has more dense breast tissue. But with 3D mammography, that's really helping us to really kind of dig through all of that breast tissue to see the really tiny, small things that might be hiding.
Now, in the interest of time, we're not going to get into the issue of breast density because we also have had Dr. Nancy Capello on as a guest.
Oh, wonderful.
As you know,
Awesome.
World champion of breast density. And she did a great discussion of why this is important, breast density notification laws, which of course she was behind the first breast density notification law in Connecticut. We also want to give her a shout out right now because she is recuperating from another battle with cancer and she is doing great, but we know she's listening and we want to say hi.
Hi, Nancy. Thank you for all your work that you do.
She has been a true breast cancer awareness warrior, particularly on this issue of breast density. Now, one of the other questions we often get about breast cancer is, don't mammography or mammograms themselves increase your risk of breast cancer because of the radiation?
Right. So the radiation in mammography these days is so minimal. And, we have to realize that we're saving more lives than causing cancer with mammograms. So again, with the 3D mammography, we can manipulate the images more on the computer screen than having to have a woman twist and turn and do all these different things to get a good image. So the radiation is low, but the reality is it's saving many more lives than it is doing harm.
Okay, my next question is a particularly fun one. You're going to like this. Is it safe to work out if you forgot to bring your sports bra?
It's safe. It might be a little uncomfortable depending on your breast size, but it's safe. You might get a little more attention on the treadmill. But it is safe. I don't know of any dangers of not working out with a sports bra.
Yeah. And of course, it depends on what sport that you're doing or what kind of
Right.
exercise that you're doing.
Yeah.
And also this is an area where it would really greatly depend on how well endowed you are or not. But this question reminded me to ask you to address the issue of exercise, particularly regular aerobic exercise, and reducing your risk of breast cancer.
Absolutely. So, it's been recommended that we exercise at least 3 times a week, a minimum of 20 minutes. And I tell women, that can be as simple as, go into your building and walk up and down the stairs, take a walk around the block. Trying to be as fit as we can certainly helps not only with breast cancer, it helps with heart disease, just so many benefits to incorporating regular exercise into our lives. And I need to practice what I preach.
Me too.
Disclaimer.
I bet Gary has time to exercise.
Yes, exactly.
No, the timing issue. And of course, this is important. We joke about it. But the timing issue and having enough time is one of those things that, of course, anything we schedule and anything we prioritize, we do find time for. And of course, this is not just important for reducing your breast cancer risk, but for improving or reducing your risk of just about every single disease that we talk about on this show, except maybe plantar fasciitis.
Right.
Although swimming is probably, good for plantar fasciitis, and tennis balls are great for plantar fasciitis. So
Yes.
What are some of the things that what are some of the common questions you get from your patients about breast cancer or breast cancer risk?
I think a lot of people ask about, especially when we talk about surgery, they all ask, does this mean that my breast has to be removed if I'm diagnosed with breast cancer? And that's not necessarily the case. We're just in this era of very personalized medicine. So, we really look at each individual woman, look at what her cancer is telling us, and then we come up with a treatment plan accordingly. If we're doing a lumpectomy, we try to do a lumpectomy so that at the end of it, it still looks like a breast. We didn't do very good surgery years ago, and patients have asked us to step up, and we do. I just had a woman who came in just before we got on, and she's going to have what we call an oncoplastic lumpectomy, where she has a larger breast. She's always wanted a breast reduction, so we're going to turn her cancer operation into her breast reduction.
Wow.
So she'll get and then at the end of it, she'll just look like she had a breast lift or a breast reduction on both sides. So we'll do one side. I can take out as much tissue as I need to. Plastic surgeon will come behind me, reshape and lift the breast. She'll go on to get radiation. We won't do anything to the other side yet. And then after she finishes radiation, we'll go and do the other side to match up. So
now, why do you wait till after radiation to do the other side?
Because if we do both sides at the same time, she's going to end up with one side being smaller. Because the radiation can cause shrinkage. So we'd rather leave her lopsided on purpose and then wait to see what the radiation changes are and then match her up. Some women will say, you know what, I'm okay with the other breast being a little bit smaller. And so in some cases, we'll go ahead and do both sides, and they realize they're just going to be a little lopsided. But for the most part, many people will wait, and we kind of do it in a staged procedure. And I think with mastectomies for women who have the breast removed, there's so many ways that we do that. I think something that a lot of people know is that if you've had a mastectomy, whether that's a nipple preserving mastectomy, a skin sparing mastectomy, just a regular mastectomy where everything is flat, that there is a federal law that says that insurance has to pay for reconstruction. They have to pay for reconstruction on the breast that's affected, but they also have to pay for reconstruction on the opposite breast so that we can make you symmetrical. We can't make you nice and pretty and perky on one side and leave the other side hanging to the ground.
Yeah.
They have to pay for the other side to be done. They also cover bras, so mastectomy bras are covered, as well as prostheses. So I think that's something that, kind of in the past, we weren't good at letting women know that they have those options. So I hope women will find out that those are options that are available.
So in this oncoplastic procedure that you mentioned, so is that fully generally covered by insurance, or is there a portion of
Yes.
the plastic surgery that's not covered?
Nope, it's covered because once they have that cancer diagnosis, then it's a part of their cancer operation.
Okay, so public service
They're
announcement number 4. Question number 4. We had a wonderful guest on, Jenny Wyckoff, who's a patient advocate who talked at great length about being a previvor. So she tested for BRCA1 or BRCA2 and decided to go the whole route and have a
Mhm.
bilateral mastectomy prophylactically. But she
Mhm.
talked a lot about insurance problems. Now, how does that work with
Hmm.
insurance in general with respect to BRCA1 and BRCA2 patients?
Yeah, insurance should cover it. I know in my experience, we've never had a problem getting the surgery covered or getting the reconstruction covered. So I think it's just a matter of, and sometimes we have to advocate for the patients and get on the phone with the insurance company, but it should not be a problem.
Okay, so my next call, as soon as I get off the phone, is to Jenny, that she's going to have to get back on this issue. So that's great. And, information changes over time also. But
Yes,
this is also
absolutely.
why it's so important for patients to get the information. And as doctors, we often think, okay, this is not our lane. Our lane is doing the actual surgery or providing the actual patient care, and we don't really
Hmm.
deal in insurance and costs. But of course, that's a huge access issue to so many people.
Yes,
So yes, it is
yes,
our lane. And anything
absolutely.
that keeps patients from getting the care they need is our lane. Um,
Absolutely.
so I'll get off my soapbox now.
I was there with you.
Yay! We're on the same side here. Don't get me started on the NRA telling doctors to stay in their lane. Um,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So, as a general surgeon, obviously, you have treated patients with gunshot wounds
Hmm.
in the past.
Yes, absolutely.
So,
Yes.
just what do you think about this being about gun violence being doctors' lane or not?
I mean, I think it should be our lane. I mean, who better to educate the public on how dangerous guns are and can be and the injuries that come, from them. I think it should be our lane. Absolutely.
Absolutely,
Absolutely.
especially when we're picking up the pieces and putting patients back together. And especially,
Yeah.
we talk about the statistics related to breast cancer all the time. And so every time we do the topic of breast cancer comes up, I feel like a broken record talking about how almost 41,000 women a year die of breast cancer. And I talk about how that's more than 10 times as many people died on 9/11
Hmm.
per year. And yet, over 260,000 women a year are diagnosed with breast cancer. This is just in the United States. So that's over
Right.
250,000 women. And then somebody like Gary always contacts me and says, oh, men can get breast cancer too. So absolutely, men can get breast cancer too. About 1% of people diagnosed with breast cancer, as you know, are men, and about 1% of the people who die of breast cancer per year are men. But almost as many people die per year in the United States of gunshot wounds as do of breast
Hmm.
cancer. So, yeah, it's our lane.
It's a public health issue. It
Mhm.
is. It is. And, I think I don't think that many of us are about taking everybody's gun. We just want gun safety. I just want to know that my kid is going to be safe. And I think at the end of the day, that's what we all want. We all want to be safe. And we want to make sure that our neighbors are safe, our kids are safe. And I think that's it at the end of the day. I think we all should be able to agree on that. We all just
Yeah,
want safety.
we all think we should be able to go to
Yeah,
our place of worship without worrying about getting shot, that our kids
exactly.
should be able to go to
Exactly.
school without worrying about
Exactly.
getting shot, that
Well,
you
it
should
might,
be able to go to the hospital to have your breast surgery without
right.
I actually, when I was a resident, I was in Philadelphia in a pretty rough area, and we routinely had patients getting shot in the emergency room in the
Oh,
hospital.
yeah.
I once had a pregnant
Yeah.
patient who got shot 17 times in the uterus. Um,
Oh,
and the baby lived, she did not.
oh,
So that was
wow.
pretty striking, just to show you how strong a
Yeah.
uterus is.
Right, exactly.
So yeah,
Wow,
that
that's
was pretty
amazing.
remarkable. But back to breast cancer. What do you see as the most exciting developments in breast cancer prevention and therapy?
I think for
Aside from
therapy,
lingerie.
yeah, I think well, that can be good therapy. I think the some of the immunotherapies that are coming out seem to be really exciting. I still think we need to do some more work on specific types of breast cancer, like the triple negatives.
Mhm. So
We
explain to us what
still,
a
and I
triple negative is.
so triple negative are patients who have a type of cancer that's not responsive to estrogen, not responsive to progesterone, and not responsive to the HER2 protein. So they are not eligible for a hormonal medicine like tamoxifen or one of the aromatase inhibitors that one would take for 5 and sometimes even 10 years to try and prevent them from getting another breast cancer. Triple negative patients, they're going to get chemotherapy and then that's it. We're all going to kind of be watching them. I have a good friend who's a triple negative survivor. She's a 7-year survivor. And she says, my hormonal therapy is God because I can't take a pill. I just have to be monitored very closely. So it'd be great to get something on the horizon for those patients and something that we could give to them long term. But I think the immunotherapy is pretty exciting. And I think the surgery and a lot of the surgical options, the fact that we're doing these oncoplastic with the plastic surgeons and really making the breast look like a breast. I think back to how I was trained, and sometimes I'll have some of these older women come in and I look at the results and it's like, yeah, they're alive, but the breast doesn't look so great. So it's just been fun, the change and how we're just ever changing and doing new things. I think that's why I love this field so much, because it never gets boring. And I meet the most amazing women. They always just are amazing.
That's awesome. And we wish you tremendous luck with your continued practice and with your lingerie store. I am going to come visit and I'm going to take you up on that red lacy lingerie that's actually
Woo!
comfortable. And I understand you just opened like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, so we just opened 2 weeks ago. So this week makes our 3rd week.
Yay. And how's
So
it going?
it's going well. So we have our team in place. I think we have a great group of employees. My business partner is awesome. She runs the store day to day. I go in the evenings a couple of nights a week and then go on the weekends to help out. And I'm actually a certified mastectomy fitter as well.
Yay.
So
Are you the
I'm able
only
to
one or do
do
you have other people?
I'm the only one now, and then what I'm
Wow.
going to do, I'll get everybody trained on my staff,
Mhm.
so that no matter when a woman walks in, she could get fitted for mastectomy
So the way it works now is
garments.
they have to make an appointment with you to get fitted?
Yes, yes,
And how
yes.
does one do that?
So they can go online or they can call the store. We're in the process of getting certified by Medicare. So in order for us to do the billing for the patients, then we have to get certified by CMS and kind of jump through a lot of hoops. But once we get certified, then we'll be able to actually take insurance and do the billing for the patients and really just make it easy for them. I want them to just come in, get fitted, walk out with stuff, and we'll take care of all the paperwork.
That's awesome. So how can women find your store online?
So we're at cherryblossomintimates.com. We're also on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Just Google Cherry Blossom or go to our website and you can get to our social media pages.
Well, I love the whole concept of Cherry Blossom Intimates. I love the fact that you're able to come join us in the ladies' room, because what could be more intimate than talking about our intimate garments? And particularly
Absolutely.
after breast cancer. I think that, you're doing tremendous, tremendous work. And
Oh,
I
thank you.
challenge Gary to come on here and
Bring it
tell us
on,
what
Gary.
he's doing in his spare time.
Maybe Gary needs a bra. That's not what he needs.
Maybe Gary needs a workout or work over.
Yes.
Anyway, thank you so much. It was great talking to you. And I'm going to check in with you every so often and see how the store is going.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me. This was a lot of fun and good luck to you.
Thank you. Take care.
That's all we have time for today. But let's keep the conversation going on Twitter or Facebook at Dr. Donica. And please join us next week for another episode of In the Ladies' Room with Dr. Donica. Real conversations with real women about really intimate topics.